Chapter 11. The Search for Lancelot. Lancelot disappeared into the forest, ranting and raving like a madman. Wearing just a shirt and breeches, he rampaged through the woods, whirling his sword in the air and attacking anyone who crossed his path. An unlucky dwarf met him in a glade, and Lancelot bundled him cruelly to the ground. "What has happened to our noble Sir Lancelot?" said the dwarf, holding his painful head. For months on end, Lancelot continued on his journey of mayhem. Soon he became almost unrecognizable. His clothes were caked with dirt, and he was as thin as a skeleton. Wild berries from hedgerows were all he ate. Now and again, travellers spotted the sad figure roaming alone. They brought the news to Camelot. King Arthur was puzzled why Lancelot had suddenly gone out of his mind. But Queen Guinevere was very distressed, because she had found out that Lancelot had been under the power of magic when he met Elaine. "Lancelot must be found," she said, "and brought back to Camelot. He must be told that he is still our most dear and noble knight." Guinevere said she would pay whatever it cost to bring him back, and asked the Knights of the Round Table to begin the search. Lancelot's brother, Sir Ector de Maris, was the first to volunteer. He was joined by Lancelot's cousin, Sir Bors. They set off and searched high and low for Lancelot, riding through England, Scotland, and Wales, but they neither saw nor heard anything of the unhappy knight. Many months later, Lancelot reached the enchanted lands of Corbin. He had no idea that he had been there before. He could not remember freeing the damsel from the cauldron, killing the dragon, or meeting with King Pelles and Elaine. He was in such a state that no one remembered him either. As he ran through the streets, youths jeered and laughed at him. Lancelot broke a few of their arms and legs before he was captured by some of the men belonging to Castor, the nephew of King Pelles of Castle Carbonek. Castor, not knowing who he was, appointed him court jester. What a sad joker Lancelot made. The proudest knight in the world was now just a figure of fun. One day Castor took him to King Pelles' castle. Even the king didn't recognize Lancelot, yet he knew that the man must have been a knight at some time because of all the battle scars on his body. The stranger in the castle caused a lot of interest. Everyone wondered who he was. In the afternoon, Lancelot fell asleep in the castle gardens. Elaine happened to be walking there and could not resist taking a closer glance. Love saw through Lancelot's madness. Elaine's eyes opened wide in amazement. "Could it be?" she murmured, looking even closer into the stranger's eyes. "Lancelot! It is my dearest Lancelot! He has come back to me!" Elaine ran off to find Dame Brisson, excitedly shouting that Lancelot had returned. Dame Brisson had already guessed who the stranger was, and knew that she was the only one with enough magic to cure him. She hurried with Elaine to Lancelot's side. "I am the one who caused all this misery," she said. "I was the one who had to enchant him, so that Galahad could be born. I caused the unhappiness between Lancelot and Guinevere, so now I must cure him of his madness." She put her hands over his sleeping eyes. Elaine watched closely and saw the misery on Lancelot's face slowly fade. Years of pain and anguish fell away. Then he awoke. "Where am I?" he asked. "Elaine! What am I doing here?" Elaine answered him gently. "You are cured now, but you arrived here as a madman. You were out of your wits with grief and trouble. Dame Brisson has healed you." Lancelot was horrified when he heard what had happened to him. "I can never return to Camelot," he said. "I would be too ashamed to show myself." Lancelot asked King Pelles to let him live in one of his castles. "I shall change my name," said Lancelot, "so nobody will know who I am. From now on I shall be known as the Wandering Knight." So Lancelot and Elaine went to live at Castle Blyant, an island fortress surrounded by deep water. Elaine loved Lancelot so dearly, but Lancelot still yearned to see Guinevere, King Arthur, and Camelot again. Every day he stood on the castle battlements and looked sadly towards the land of Camelot. Lancelot's brother, Sir Ector de Maris, and Sir Bors had hunted high and low to find Lancelot, without success. They had almost given up, and were on their way home to Camelot when they passed Castle Pliant. Sir Ector looked across the water to the castle and bellowed out, "Who lives in this place?" A voice echoed back, "The most courageous and brave knight in the world. He calls himself the Wandering Knight." "Then he is a boaster," roared Sir Ector. "My brother Lancelot is the bravest knight of all." Elaine heard the reply and knew she could not keep Lancelot from his brother. She sent a boat to bring the visitors to the castle. She told them all about Lancelot's adventures and how he was too ashamed to return home. When Lancelot saw his brother, he fell into his arms and wept. "Dear brother, it is good to see you again, and welcome, Sir Bors." Sir Ector begged Lancelot to return with them to Camelot. "The king and the queen miss you so much," he added. "Queen Guinevere herself has paid 20,000 pounds in silver for the Knights of the Round Table to find you. If you return with us, there will never be a knight who is more welcome at Camelot." Lancelot was moved by his brother's words and knew he must return. Elaine burst into tears. Once more she was to lose the man she loved. "I will die for the love of you," she said, "but Galahad will keep me in your memory, and you will see him soon." Lancelot rode away with the 2 knights of the Round Table. Elaine stood on the battlements and watched them go. Tears flooded down her face as Lancelot disappeared into the distance. But there was great joy in the court at Camelot when Lancelot returned. Queen Guinevere wept with happiness, and King Arthur was delighted to see his favourite knight home again.